It is the top of the hour. It is Wednesday, January 13th, 2016. My name is Shalthus, and this is the Daily Rocket. For those of you who don't know what the hell I'm talking about, allow me to clarify. Starting today and airing every weekday is a brand new Daily Rocket League show called the Daily Rocket. Today, of course, we're going to be focusing on the EU Power Rankings, so that will continue the way it always has. And Friday night, we will, of course, be bringing you the NA Power Rankings. But every other day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, there will be other Rocket League-related content, discussion, results, and all the other fun stuff that we like to talk about during the week. But with that being said, let's take a look at our schedule. This is what the Daily Rocket looks like. Monday through Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. GMT. But of course, Friday, due to the NA Power Ranking show, we move up to 8 p.m. Eastern. And that will be the start time for the NA Power Ranking show. But without any further ado, let us get down to business, shall we? So, my name is Shalthus. This is the EU Power Rankings for, well, technically the week of January 11th, but it has been a while, as I'm sure a lot of you know. As a matter of fact, let me make a slight movement there. There we go. That's better. So anyway, it has been a while since we have had a power ranking show of any kind. The last time I was on talking about power rankings, I kind of gave you insight into the process itself. I showed you how I do my rankings. Well, this week, we are back. We are ready to go. We have 10 top teams in the EU region, and I think it's about time we get down to business and talk about who those teams are and why they are our top 10. So, let us get to it, shall we? So coming in at number 10 this week, Galactic Lions. They're going to go up 2 spots, coming outside of the top 10 to finally debut here on the EU Power Rankings. Galactic Lions, over the last several weeks, has had a decent run, though they've had a bit of a hard time with the Three Musketeers. That seems to be a team that they consistently bump into and get taken down by. So, it's a bit of a problem for them, but their overall results over the last several weeks, especially the weeks that we've not been on the air, obviously, have worked out pretty well for them. So Galactic Lions debuting here at number 10 on the EU Power Rankings. So it is their, again, their first time in the top 10. So now it's just a matter of seeing if they can keep that top 10 intact. So, good start for them. Moving into number 9, Noble Esports. They're going to fall 2 spots this week, mainly due to the fact that they haven't played at all. And there's been a lot of activity above them, a lot of other teams that have played and debuted and succeeded, and unfortunately it's just pushed them down the list. Now, however, we do know that Noble will be making their RLC Pro League debut this Sunday, so we'll finally be able to see them in action in the Pro League. They're taking on MyXMG, so that's a good test to probably regulate their position a little bit now. You know, if you look at this from a much broader perspective, I wouldn't say that Noble is the 9th best team in Europe. I think that they're better than that, but they just haven't played in a while. It's been a very long time since we've last had any data at all from them in terms of results. So Noble hopefully will be able to kind of recover a little bit of their past glory after this Sunday, finally debuting in Pro League. Maybe we'll see them in Gfinity as well, but only time will tell. But for now, that is where they are at number 9 on the EU Top 10. So now at number 8, Gold Rush. So we are basing this off of the previous Gold Rush roster, the original kind of combination that they've been working with for a while. I do understand that there have been severe roster changes, and that will be taken into account starting the next power ranking. But as far as their results have gone over the last several weeks, it's been doing pretty well for them. They've gotten good wins and such like that. So as far as we know, with Gold Rush right now, it is still Desga Delgado, and I don't know who the official other 2 are. So the way this is going to work most likely is that because Lunation and Scrubkilla are likely moving to a different team and finding a new third, they will inherit this ranking because that's the majority team. I can't say for sure how that's going to work out, but that's the discussion we're having right now to see who inherits this ranking, if it gets inherited at all. So it's probably going to go to Gold Rush, or to Scrubkilla and Lunation's new team. I will answer your question shortly. Well, no, you know what? I'll do it right now. I don't know anything. So there you go. So yeah, this is from, again, one more time, this number 8 for Gold Rush is for the old version of the team. This ranking will likely be inherited by whatever new team. If Scrubkilla and Lunation wind up on the same team, then that rank will likely be inherited by them. If they go to different teams, then it's just gone. It will just be gone completely. So, we'll see how that plays out over the rest of this week before we do the next power rankings. But we are back to a week-to-week schedule. As you probably heard the last time I was on air, we are taking new people for trial runs. So over the course of the next several weeks, we're trialing out new potential candidates to join the power ranking committee on both NA and EU to kind of help out towards this. So with any event, there's your number 8 team. So moving in at number 7, Spectral. So Spectral's going to drop 1 spot this week, but their performance as of late has been pretty exceptional. The thing about the EU rankings is that it's a fight. Man, it is a fight every single week to move up and down this ranking. But Spectral has done exceptionally well lately. They had that series against Flipside Tactics in the RLC Pro League where they managed to claim 2 games against a lot of people's expectations. Whoever those people are, I don't know. But a lot of people did think that Spectral would probably have a difficult time against Flipside, and they really didn't. They not only held their own to manage to win 2 games, but they also kept the scores really low. If you look at the goal differential, the scoring was much lower for Spectral than in the Crown and Jewels Supersonic Avengers match, where it was heavily tilted in the favor of Crown and Jewels. So Spectral losing 1 spot, mostly due to, again, the movement above them. But a good play by them over the last several weeks keeps them in the top 10, unsurprisingly. Number 6, the Three Musketeers. So Three Musketeers technically moving up 5 spots over the previous power rankings, but that's over the course of 3-4 weeks. So it's a bit deceptive in terms of that severe climb. But as far as Three Musketeers have gone, they've picked up some big wins again over my XMG. Over the past week, they ended up disbanding, and Ring Telephone Ring went to Crown and Jewels, but before the week was up, he came back, and the team reformed. So they are on this list. They weren't going to be, but here they are. But again, the +5 is because there's such a delay from the last power ranking, but this is over the course of several weeks. We've been keeping up with the results. We've been watching how these teams have done, and Three Musketeers ended up getting a pretty sizable leap, all things considered. Doesn't normally happen that way, but we normally wouldn't move a team up 5 spots between power rankings, but if it were week to week, that probably wouldn't happen. But over the course of like 3 or 4 weeks, I think we can make that exception. But Three Musketeers making it in to the 6th spot. Number 5, my XMG. They're going to fall a couple spots this week, mainly due to a few severe losses, or a few losses that they really shouldn't have had, and of course, again, the performance of teams above them. And that's where things get a little shaky, is because we have so many teams above these squads that start to perform exceptionally well, and that causes movement downward where maybe it shouldn't be, but it's just the nature of how things work. But my XMG, they're going to drop a couple of places here because there are a few teams above them that have been playing a little bit better in the grand scheme of things. But my XMG will stand a chance to make a bit of a comeback. They have Noble Esports this Sunday in the RLC Pro League, and hopefully we'll see them in Gfinity as well, so we can see how that performance plays out as well. Yeah, there is resigned and re-signed. So if you type it all as one word, resigned, that means they left their team or left their position. Re-signed, R-E-S-I-G-N-E-D, Dash signed is they signed a new deal and returned to the team, or something like that. But anyway, my XMG dropping a couple spots into number 5. That takes us to number 4, Supersonic Avengers, who will jump up 1 spot. Now, Supersonic Avengers had a very difficult time in the RLC Pro League, going 5-0 to Crown and Jewels. But that is just a couple days actually, after beating Crown and Jewels in the Grand Finals of Gfinity. So a bit of a trade-off there. Isn't enough to completely tank Supersonic's rating, and the movement below them did knock them up a spot. Otherwise, they probably would have just stayed at number 5, but everything else considering, and how the averages worked out, Supersonic wound up moving up a spot. So, Supersonic Avengers has a bit of work to do. Obviously, they are in a tough spot, and they're going to have to move up from number 4. We'll see how they fare over the next several weeks, especially in the RLC Pro League. So with that being said, Supersonic Avengers in at number 4. Let's take a look. In a tie for number 2, SK Gaming and Crown and Jewels will tie for second place. Crown and Jewels jumping up 2 spots this week. But their performance has been exceptional. And Crown and Jewels, clearly showed that they are going to be a dominant team in the RLC Pro League, having a very hard time, or making a very hard time for Supersonic Avengers, and proceeding to just get consistent wins week after week. Their only losses have come again to Supersonic Avengers at Gfinity, and also a big loss to, big, if you will, but a loss to Flipside Tactics at the IRCL. Now, as far as SK Gaming goes, they have not played as often, but again, I'm not attributing so much to not playing during the holiday weeks because of obvious reasons. You know, most teams didn't play during that time, and every team has a justified reason not to. But SK Gaming's performance in the Pro League was very good. They obviously had the Gfinity incident, but that kind of stirred things up a bit. But as far as everything else goes, there wasn't really enough, in my opinion, to drop them out of the top completely, and due to the averages, Crown and Jewels and SK ended up getting the tie. But Crown and Jewels, moving up a couple of spots, they're the most notable result here, and they stand a chance to possibly take that number 1 position, but as we all know, it belongs to Flipside Tactics. So Crown and Jewels and Flipside Tactics are meeting this Sunday in the RLC Pro League, a set of 5 games, and depending on how those 5 games go, we can possibly see a change of the guard here. But, like I said, these two teams did play recently in the IRCL, and Flipside got the win. So, we'll have to see if there's any real change here, or if Flipside is just going to continue to hold on to that dominant number 1 spot. That's the really difficult question right now, is that Flipside is not the premier dominant, presence that they were just a few months ago. The contention between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 is getting to be much, much closer. And teams are just one big win away from shuffling that all around. So, this is kind of how the rankings have gone this week, as we've looked at the results from the past several weeks, all the way back to ESL 22, and everything in between. And that is where we sit right now. So here is your top 10 for this week. We are back. This is an official Power Ranking Top 10. I hope you are interested and excited. Fisho is not currently playing with a Team Rocket. Right now, Team Rocket consists of O'Neal, Cole, and Wrongway Woody. So without any further ado, I guess let's turn to the chat. Let's turn to questions. Now you know the top 10. This is the part of the show where I respond to any questions you may have about the power rankings, or even about Daily Rocket if you want to find out about that. For anybody who just joined in, if you didn't see the notice at the beginning of the show, this is the start of something new called the Daily Rocket. Daily Rocket will take place Monday through Friday. Every day there will be maybe like a 1 hour or so show where we'll talk about Rocket League, we'll talk about the esports scene, results, and whatever else we want to talk about just to, have a good time. So, Monday's show, of course, is probably going to be a big results show. We'll talk about ESL, we'll talk about Gfinity, and of course we'll talk about the RLC Pro League, which is the big to-do right now for all the major teams. Tuesdays will probably be a little calmer. Get trucks driving by and they go nuts. Tuesdays will probably be a little more relaxed. We'll talk about just general things, whatever the hell we want to. And that is how things will likely look throughout the week. So, anyway, let's take a look. Any questions here? Where's Doomsy? Doomsy is probably no longer going to be a regular player due to health issues. So, unfortunately, he's not really going to be able to continue on a regular basis. Thus why O'Neal is typically playing with Team Rocket now. When am I playing Rocket League again? I don't know, maybe later tonight. Because I usually stream at nights, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Monday and Wednesday, I usually just, we'll do whatever. We'll hang out, play Rocket League, do whatever. I don't know yet. How much will the top 5 teams drop if they get beaten by the last 5? It depends. You know, just losing a game isn't necessarily going to tank your rating. There's so many other factors that we look at when it comes to determining exactly where the movement happens. Like if Galactic Lions beats Flipside Tactics, and all the teams are at full strength, normal squads, then it's going to be a huge gain for Galactic Lions, but we also are going to look at everything else they've done. Same thing with Flipside. It could be a big drop for them, or at least like a couple spots, but we'd have to see what else they did. Was that a fluke? You know, or did they genuinely lose effectiveness? Because that's what a power ranking is how effective are these teams currently? Not week to week, but currently, based off of their past performance. So, that's where we're at right now. Alright, after recent tournaments, do you think the future of Rocket League as an esport is brighter, or do we have to wait a bit longer? I think it's much brighter. You know, the Pro League's been a huge success. I know that there is stuff in the works across the board. We do have to wait a little bit longer, but not as long as we have been waiting. So, we've got some good stuff in store. Do I promote the use of cocaine? I mean, whatever. I like Scarface. Thanks, A-Money, and thanks for being a part of this. Yeah, I like, you know, I mean, the show is going to be about esports, of course. That's my love. That's going to be my primary thing. But we'll talk just about the game in general, too. Like, I think tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about this breakdown that Subin did about the various cars in the game. And I think it's going to generate some very interesting and fun discussion. So we will definitely do that. But, alright, did I miss anything? I don't think I missed any questions. Will there be a global power ranking in the future? Maybe. See, the biggest thing about a global power ranking, and I mention this every time somebody asks me about a global or worldwide power ranking, the reason we can do EU is because the EU teams play one another. The reason we can do NA is because the NA teams play one another. There's not a lot of international play, and that's one of the bigger things. So, my guess is that maybe we can do one after the RLC Season 1 finals. Maybe we can do one if Rocket Royale were to come back, and we'd have that international play on a weekly basis again. But that's the thing we need to look at. We need international games on a regular basis to do a global power ranking. So, I don't know if we're going to get that, because it's a lot of work to do EU and NA by itself, and there's not really a good way to compare the two. Because at that point, you're starting to guess. And you're starting to guess, okay, like, where is this NA team compared to these EU teams, despite the fact that they don't play one another? You know, it's a lot of guesswork, and it randomizes the process a little too much. Whereas with this, we have hard data we can actually look at. Top 3 freestylers? I mean, Clickseer, probably right up there. I don't know. I don't really have a top 3. I hate ranking players. I have such a hard time ranking players. because I don't watch individuals enough or as much as I watch like the whole team. Team games are easy to rank because I watch team games all the time, but do I support the use of Smurf accounts like streamers such as A-Money use? Smurfing, when it's a competitive game, it will always be prone to smurfing, so I don't really care. Last weekend we saw the tactical aspect of taking an unusual map like Wasteland. In the current Rocket League meta, what would be an I didn't see that one coming moment you feel? There's not a lot of that randomness in the game itself right now. You know, if we had more more non-standard maps, like really non-standard, like I always use this as an example because it's a good example. If we had Galleon in the Rocket League map pool and somebody picked that would shock me. Like I'm saying, the exact Galleon just ripped out of Battle Cars and thrown into Rocket League. If that were to happen, that would shock me. But right now, there's not a whole lot you can do that's really shocking or kind of be out of left field. But I like the use of Wasteland right now. I like how teams are using it to try and gain an advantage, and it's been working pretty well. All things considered, it didn't work out too well for failure to launch, but that's okay. Actually, I think, now that I think back on it, I think that was Cosmic who picked that. I don't remember. I'd have to look back at the actual map order. But anyway, I like the use of it, and I hope that continues. I hope when we get more non-standard maps, that could continue as well. When is the IRCL Season 1 Finals? I don't know. I really don't. I have no idea when they're going forward with that. I don't run or have anything to do with IRCL. But hopefully they figure that out and get the word out pretty soon. We do need a good LAN tournament. We need good LAN tournaments everywhere. If you were to quantify the difference between the teams and the power rankings, what would you say is the difference between the last team and the first team? I mean, there's a significant difference. But the thing with the power rankings is there are sections of the rankings, and I'm not talking about just the top 10. I mean like 1 through 50, for example. There are segments of that change in size every week, depending on the results and performance. But basically, we break it down into categories mentally, where it seems that the results are exceptionally close. And when the categories change, the difference between them can also get a little bit bigger. So for example, this week, top 4 would be its own little box. And then probably 5 through 9 would be its own section. And these are teams that are pretty close to one another, and the rankings could change dramatically depending on one big win or one big loss. Then you've got probably 10 through 15 that you're going to see fairly close competition from. Then it usually goes like 15 to 25, and then 25 to 50 or something like that. But it gets bigger, obviously, the further down it goes as far as what that box is. Because the lower you go in the rankings, especially when you fall outside of the top 10, one win can shoot you way up or drop you way down, depending on what you've done and who you've won and who you beat and who you got beat by. There's less movement like that within the top 10 itself, because these teams have been here for a long time or have a lot of history behind them, and the competition is not quite as close. You know, some weeks, I'll admit, like, despite the fact that it's numbered 1 through 10, there's sometimes where I would rank it like 5, 5.1, 5.2. You know, that's how close it can be between some teams. But, you know, if I were to directly compare, like, Flipside Tactics to Galactic Lions, you know, there's just really no way to do that. But, it's not necessarily just 1 through 10, like, there's a bit of spacing between all these teams, so it's a little tricky to explain, but the more you do, like, I've done these EU power rankings since the inception of them, so I know, like, generally what I'm looking at. It's a little hard to explain sometimes. There we go. That looks good. Okay, let's see. We need the Cosmic map. A lot of people want Cosmic. In particular, Cosmic. Like IBP Cosmic. Yeah, I think that's the only way you'd start to get a little more unusual choice is if players were forced into random cars. Um, but there seems to be a lot of opposition to that, which I guess I can understand. You know, that's kind of the meta right now, is you build your strategy around how a certain car controls. And yeah, some players can be just as good no matter what they're piloting. But there's certain, there's obvious changes between the cars and differences that affect how you play. Yeah, the Rocket League internal ranking system doesn't really tell you how effective a player is. I mean, it helps in little ways, but it depends on one, how often that player plays ranked, how well they are in certain roles. But that's about it. With the power rankings, we can take a look at everything. Like we don't just take a look at wins and losses. We take a look at the strength of a win and the strength of a loss and the quality of a win, and did a team take a couple games off of you, because that could also matter for them at least. So there's a lot of factors there. Do you agree Galactic Lions should rename to Galactic Loins? I'll make that movement. Let's see if they agree. Somebody has to reach out to them. Why is SA behind SK? Because their performance. I mean, they're fourth, and SK is tied for second. I mean, they have not done. They had a rough IRC or a rough Pro League day. Obviously, you know that. But they haven't had an outright collapse or anything like that yet. And the only reason they moved up a spot was just because of the movement below them. Honestly, that's it. Okay, 2 questions. Pro players, like in the Flipside Tactics team, played the prequel for 6 years. Rocket League's been out for 6 or 7 months. So you can't really compare new pros to original pros. You can kind of agree with that. But to lead into your next question, do you think that non-Battle Cars teams will be as good as the current top 3 teams in the near future? Cronovi said, and I'm bringing this up because I kind of agree with him, that it would take about 6 months for us to start to see the non-SARP vets moving into, the top. And here's a good example. Spectral is a team that consists of no SARP vets. They are all Rocket League. They got their start with Rocket League. They are ranked number 7 right now, but they are capable of being. They have been a top 4 team. They could be a top 3 team in time. I think that we are approaching the point right now, and probably within the next month or two, where the experience from Battle Cars is going to be less and less and less. And the more time we have, the less and less it's going to matter, obviously. But I think we're at a point right now where that separation is not quite as significant as it used to be. Or I should say, it doesn't really matter as much as it used to. So, I can tell you that. The NA Power Rankings are not out yet. So I cannot give you those links because they're not available yet. They should be going out tomorrow. But yeah, there's a lot of players now on these teams that got their start with Rocket League that are really closing that gap rapidly. So, Let's see. I am trying to make sure I'm all caught up. Thank you. Yeah, I'm gonna wear something a little different. Figured I'd go with some color. It's been a while, right? I'm not saying that a team that consists entirely out of new players is going to be a number one team tomorrow, but that gap is really small now and practically unimportant in the grand scheme of things. What do I think of the idea of the Rocket League EU Championship? In like what? Like how? I need detail. Like what do you mean just a championship? For what exactly? In what thing? I mean, I'm always down for any kind of championship, but I would need to, specifically. Let's see. What changes in Noble? They haven't played at all since the last power ranking. And there was so much performance above them that it was hard to keep them up there when so many other teams were continuing to do really well and play and get wins, and just movement above them really was the big thing that forced them down. But they play on Sunday. Maybe Friday. We'll see if they play in Gfinity, but I know they're playing Sunday, so we'll see how that goes. The top 3 best teamwork teams? Cosmic has always been my personal favorite when it comes to teams that really teamwork. Crown and Jewels, though, really starting to show that off quite a bit. So they're very good at that. Flipside, more than they used to have. But it's still very much just we are 3 extremely talented players, so no matter what we do, we're going to hang pretty well. So that's something that they can do. Yeah, Cosmic is all... They are NA, but yeah, I think they're all SARP vets. Yes. Most of the teams that have dominated the ranking since the beginning are comprised of all SARP vets, like Flipside and things like that. Can we get a World Cup? Maybe. I'd expect that maybe in the future of some degree. Alright. Oh, I get you. So yeah, so just like international teams instead of proper teams. Yeah, I mean, that would be very cool, just to see players play together who maybe don't normally do it, and get a little bit of that international team preference and stuff like that there. So I think that'd be really good. I got you. Yeah, Godlight is easy. Would Crown and Jewels be number 1 if they won Gfinity? Probably not, but they probably would have ownership of number 2. Because they also lost to Flipside during this period. So, I mean, mostly we need a team to beat the number 1 to take number 1. I think that's the situation right now. You know, somebody's going to have to beat Flipside, or at least pick up some wins over them. Like if Crown and Jewels can pick up a couple wins over Flipside this week, maybe even 3. If they can win the majority of that series, they could probably take the top spot. I could very well see that. And it also depends on how they do in Gfinity too. If they're playing in Gfinity, if they do really well, then that could look good for them as well. So we'll see. But yeah, I agree. I actually kind of like the idea of a World Cup where players have to play for the team, you know, for the country that they're from, instead of their own teams. I think that'd be pretty hype. Everybody just plays with their respective flag on their antenna. So keep track of them. But Anyway. Let's see. Don't you think after the next RPL match day you'll have some problems with the stats? I mean, Noble didn't play last week, and this week another team won't play too. That means until the last match day, at least two teams will have a match to play more than the other. I mean, the standings and stats have no bearing until the end of the season. We just keep track of them because I love stats, and stats are great, and I'm going to keep doing so. But there's no... You know, when I talk about how a team does, I might mention, oh, they're number one in the Pro League right now, but it doesn't matter until they're number one at the end of the season. Because yeah, you're right. Every team has to play 6 matches over the course of 7 weeks. So every week, one team is not going to play. So it's going to look a little weird, but it doesn't really matter until the end. So I think that's the important thing. We're still going to keep track of the stats, we're still going to talk about them and show them off, but they're not going to have any real bearing until the season's over. So. Who, in your mind, is the best Rocket League player? I have answered that many times, and the answer still is the same. I feel like it's Marky Duda. Personally. Yeah, I agree. I think the idea of a World Cup is a great idea. Well, the stats on RLC Pro League are put together, but if you watch the specials that I do, like the streams I do after the RLC days, I break them down by region. So you'll see how they're faring against the same region. Why did we implement stats? Because stats are great. I love stats. Stats give you information to talk about. It's stuff to look at. It's a snapshot of overall performance and things the team is doing really well or things that they're not doing well. And at the end of the season, we're going to have such great statistical information. And it's stuff you can take and then look at like after the season's done and be like, oh, look at this. Like during the regular season, this player had the most goals, but it was on so many shots. But this player had the best shot effectiveness. And, there's a lot of cool stuff you can talk about to really see how well these players are and how these teams played and all this sort of stuff. So it's just fun, man. That's all stats are. Stats are fun. Okay. I don't know why that was linked to me, but that's okay. That is indeed a picture of myself. You got it. Alright, looks like the EU Power Rankings have been posted to Reddit now, so I can give you... Let's open that up, just to make sure. Yeah, this week it was me, Cloudfuel, and Durkand who made the decision, but there's the EU rankings on Reddit, so you can upvote and everything like that. Thanks, A-Money. Take care. Good to see you around. Can I say, I can't wait until we're alone. I have a special surprise for you. For your follow alert? No, I can't say that. I'm sorry. I did notice it, and, I mean, I don't know. It's cool. That's me. It's an old picture, though. That's from... Because I went to WrestleMania 30. And that was before I actually went, because I bought that, the jersey. And, yeah, I had that for a while. Anavia, let me look. I can tell you. I can try and tell you at least. Because once you get outside of the top 15, I don't know if there's really a good way to say oh, this team was right on the cusp of getting in or anything like that. But I can look at results. Oh, well, they were number 11, right? Or no, they weren't. Hold on. They were... Okay, so they did get ranked by somebody. And they actually were 16th. Literally 16th. Based off their average, they finished in 16th. So, there you go. I don't care if you want to link pictures of me. I mean, it's me. I don't think I have any terrible pictures online. Somebody's been stalking my Facebook. Or maybe that was on Twitter. No, that was probably on Twitter. Then whatever, I don't care. Link it. If you found it on Twitter, then shit, I posted it up there for a reason. Hell, I don't care. Yeah, they were very close. I think it was just the other averages that kind of kept them just outside. But they are Cloudfield's team to watch this week. Stoic was Durkin's team to watch, and Torched is my team to watch. They're always kind of on the cusp there. Okay, yeah, then if it's on Twitter, I mean, do what you want, I don't care. It's clearly been posted for a reason. You know? So, it don't matter to me. Anything I post on Twitter is fair game at this point. Anyway. What happened to Rocket League Reddit? Is it dead? I don't think it's dead. It's got over 113,000 subscribers. I think that's pretty good. But, anyway, again, yeah, I mean, throw on any questions y'all have. Now's a good time. I don't know if Scrub is really 12. I don't know anybody's ages. Well, I know some people's ages, but... Need an EU caster as good as me? There's several great casters out there. We're using them in the Pro League. So, in fact, this Sunday, I'm going to be kind of running the show, as a matter of fact. And I'll be shoutcasting with Shogun and the Pash for EU and NA, respectively. So, it will be fun. Alright, so he says yes he is. So there you go. Yes he is. A weekly or daily, sort of week daily, power ranking or Rocket League show. All throughout the week, most of the week, it's going to be at 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. GMT, with of course the EU Power Rankings following on Wednesdays. On Friday, at 8 p.m. Eastern, is the NA Power Rankings, and of course other Rocket League related stuff. But yeah, we will talk about the esports side of things. We'll talk about the game itself. We'll talk about interesting discussion topics on Reddit and whatnot. Whatever the heck else, whatever else is on our agenda. It's all just fun stuff. Like, for example, tomorrow I think one of our big discussion topics is going to be about Subbin's car ranking post. There's car tier list. Because I think it's a very interesting discussion I think we can have and enjoy. So, yeah, I think that's we'll talk about whatever. Again, the esport results will be the big thing, so Monday will probably be our busy esport day, where we'll talk about ESL, Gfinity, and of course the RLC Pro League. Tuesdays and Thursdays are going to be a little more relaxed, just talking about whatever, any interesting subjects and what have you. And of course, Wednesday and Friday are power ranking shows, so you know how that goes. But this is the new schedule, at least for the Daily Rocket. So we will be around quite a bit, and it will be fun. Yeah, the ESL monthly finals, when they eventually happen, they will factor into the power rankings, absolutely. See, it doesn't matter what the event is, as long as it's a tournament setting of some kind, or a league setting of some kind, when the teams play one another, we will factor that in, you know? If a team beats, like, if SK were to play Flipside in IRCL, or if they were to play them in Gfinity or RLC Pro League, it doesn't matter, it doesn't change the effectiveness of the win. Those wins all count the same, or those results all count the same, whatever they are. Yeah, he posted it up on Reddit, which is VG Subbins car tier list. Yeah, Roken tried to call me on Skype during that, and I wasn't at my computer because he didn't tell me that's what he was doing. And he was talking about doing a talk show. I didn't realize he was talking about doing it right then and there. But, doing all this stuff. So, like, the shows and shoutcasting I do, is it difficult? Not really. I mean, it takes time, but that's, you know, that's my deal. That's my gig. That's what I want to do, is be a part of this, so. No, I don't think, it's not difficult right now. I'm sure it might be a little more difficult if I start getting bigger gigs and as the scene expands and things like that happen, so. But it's the life I signed up for, I suppose. Oh, power rankings can be a little difficult, yeah. I mean, the thing with power rankings is that it's a lot of information to parse and evaluate, and like the rankings themselves are the hard part. The write-ups that I have to do after, those are easy. I can knock those out, like, super easy. But same webcam, might be slightly different lighting. Sometimes I don't turn on the backlight that I have for it, because I don't, it's very bright and it sits right behind the camera, so I have to stare into the light when I'm looking at the camera. So I try to avoid that. But no, the camera's the same thing it's always been. I'd show it on webcam, but I don't think I can. I don't have a mirror. So anyway, Jew, take care. You're probably already gone by now, but thanks for hanging out. Thank you very much, Zoomy. I'm hoping so too. I'm counting on the next few months to hopefully open up some big doors here. That's what I'm hoping for, at least. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's turn on. I'm going to turn on the browser or the alerts because I have activated text-to-speech for any donations. So, just so you know, not any, but I think $3 is the limit. But anyway, what does SNK NA team coach specifically mean? Okay, so basically, yeah, I mean, I'll review matches, schedule scrims, figure stuff out, provide them feedback, talk to them about what they want to do, what their objectives are, how they feel they're playing, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, it's just like being a regular coach. Go over plays, go over practice, talk about, you know, actual matches that happen in tournament settings, what did right, what did wrong, and just give them that feedback to kind of work on and build from and go from there. Both directly to a player and in a general team sense. So, Alright, let's see. Alright, Zoomy. Take care. Thanks for hanging out. Thank you for the questions as well. Always nice. Make sure I've got everything gone here. Getting peppered. Alright, anyway. Let's see. What do I think about the lack of involvement from Psyonix? Well, right now, Psyonix, their biggest issue, or not issue, but their biggest thing right now is they want to provide support for the esports scene, and they're going to. And of course, that's only going to apply to pro players. There is a lot of stuff for the average player, technically. Tournaments like ESL and Gfinity are technically built for the average player. But because there's no pro-level alternative, that's where all the other pro teams play. So it gets a little tilted. So I don't know. I mean, there might end up being more for the average player or more for, non-pro players, amateur players, as you will, in the future. But the idea now is that doesn't need the support. What does need the support is the pro scene, the esports scene. We've done a lot of work to build that scene up right now with the Pro League and Rocket Royale and everything else, but it does need more direct support. So hopefully, Psyonix, when they make their move, they'll do something with some org, whether it's ESL or Gfinity or MLG or RLC. Who knows? I don't even know what's going to happen. But that's the that's the hope, obviously. So, hey, Weed Wizard. All right. Any other questions? Questions about the Pro League? Questions about the Daily Rocket? You can always ask that. Or whatever. Hey, that. Welcome. Figured I'd leave up the power rankings so you can see what they are if you've come in a little late or missed the initial, breakdown of the rankings. Looks pretty quiet. Oh, Hugo, thank you for the follow. Move over. There we go. Okay. Oh, I think more game content will come. More game content has been coming regularly in terms of new modes and new maps and new cars and all sorts of stuff that any player can take advantage of. So I expect that will continue to happen. But competitive players, casual or pro or amateur or pro, have lots of options right now. So, technically, they have a lot of options. But, alright, well, looks like things have quieted down. There's your EU Top 10. You can see the write-ups on Reddit, and they will soon be posted up to rocket-league.com as well. You know how that goes. Any predictions about the new season? You mean like the new ranked season? I don't know about that. Nor do I know when it's ending. Nah, I wish I did. A lot of people want to know that. But, I mean, they do need to step it up, and they've been, kind of picking their moment. But I'm sure it's going to come. Just, best thing I can say is just hang tight. And we'll start seeing more from Psyonix pretty soon. Yeah, I don't have anything really. I don't know what they're going to do about the new ranked season. But Why is Cronovi a much more popular than the rest of the pro streamers? Well, he got a very early start as one of the premier Rocket League players and did stuff that nobody had ever seen before, so he got a very big early audience that way. And he just maintained it because he continues to play. He's still in a high level. He's still considered one of the best players in North America. So he's got a lot going for him positively that helps him own that audience. So, no real shock. Chat front. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to cut this off now. We're going to wrap things up here for the EU Power Rankings show here in the Daily Rocket. I'll be back later on tonight, probably around 8 p.m. or so, just to hang out. We'll chill out. We'll play Rocket League. We'll just talk about whatever. But that'll be it. So for now, I'm going to wrap things up here. Thank you all so much for watching the first ever episode of the Daily Rocket. I will be back again in just a few hours live. So stay tuned for that, but thank you all again. I hope to see some of you later on, at least those of you who are still awake. And take care, and I will see you all next time.